Welcome. Thank you for lending an ear to the Voice of the Times for Wednesday, June 16, 2021. For today's editorial, media is not the proper forum to regulate electricity supply. Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi is not happy with the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines or NGCP, and he may have legitimate reasons not to be. But attempting to regulate the grid operator through a public media blitz is the wrong approach to solving whatever problems may exist. That is because the ultimate fix that the Department of Energy is proposing, a government takeover of grid operations in Luzon, is a drastic proposal that potentially threatens the reliability of energy supply for the biggest part of the economy and population. It also does not actually address the problem that Cusi has said he is trying to solve, the deficiency of electricity that seems to happen at about this time every year. To aid public understanding of a very complex set of issues, another good reason why it should not be subjected to a trial by media, let us take a moment to briefly summarize the topic and the questions that have been raised. The national grid refers to that portion of the electricity infrastructure that carries electricity from generating plants to the local distribution networks of distribution utilities such as the Manila Electric Company or Meralco or electric cooperatives. The national grid is owned by the government through the National Transmission Corporation or Transco. In 2009, NGCP was granted a concession or franchise to operate, maintain, and develop the national grid. This franchise is for 25 years, so it will expire in 2034 unless extended or conversely revoked by Congress before that date. NGCP is a consortium of the Monte Oro Grid Resources Corporation, Calaca High Power Corporation, and State Grid Corporation of China. The latter holds a 40% ownership share in the venture and supplies much of the management and technical expertise needed to carry out operations. The complaints raised by Cusi, who has been publicly supported by the Transco management and several members of Congress, can be essentially distilled into two. First, that NGCP has ignored a DOE directive issued last year that it obtained 100% firm as opposed to non-firm contracts for ancillary services, which are power supply reserves, thus directly causing the recent supply shortages that led to several days of rolling brownouts earlier this month. Second, that NGCP has failed to abide by several terms of its concession agreement, including the timely remittance of franchise fees and the completion of key expansion projects for the grid, most particularly the long-delayed interconnection between Mindanao and the rest of the country. There may be merit to each of these public claims or there may not, but a word war between the DOE and NGCP carried out on the battlefield of the daily newspapers is not the way to establish that. Nor is it practical or appropriate for the DOE to suggest a sentence for alleged misdeeds, revoking NGCP's franchise and government taking control of the grid before a detailed investigation and debate in Congress, which has the sole power to grant or remove legislative franchises. Legal experts have also pointed out that there is a potential difficulty to a government takeover that could scuttle such a move in the courts. Such a takeover would likely violate the terms of the Electric Power Industry Reform Act of 2001, which mandated privatization of electricity infrastructure and supply. That law would have to be amended, something which has proved impossible to do in the past 20 years. More importantly, there is the troubling question of whether the government actually has the technical and administrative capacity to take over the national grid without making the problem the DOE is trying to solve even worse. At a time when the economy is trying to recover from the effects of the coronavirus pandemic, any added uncertainty about the availability and reliable delivery of electricity could have disastrous consequences. There is too much at stake for lives and livelihoods for issues involving NGCP, whatever they may be, to be handled in a reckless fashion. We urge the Energy Department and all concerned to support proper, thorough inquiries and be circumspect with their public comments until the outcome of those is known. And that's the editorial for June 16, 2021. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print. Subscribe to its digital edition or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram and listen to the Voice of the Times.